I'm Teresa Carraggio, and this is Third Paradigm. Yesterday, I had the great pleasure of getting a call from Ginger Breggan. We chatted about many things, including the people who have gathered around them. And we talked about J.J. Couey and Matthew Crawford and Mark Kulaks and all of the great research that's been coming out and whole conventions of people who said prayers for them. So they're feeling very well supported and feeling strong. Peter is out of the hospital, and at one point I asked Ginger, I said, what do you think is up with Kennedy? Why has Kennedy not come out with any statement about Robert Malone when they are obviously at such odds in terms of what they stand for? And she said, I don't know if I have a theory about that, but wait, my husband says he does. And so she put me on speakerphone, and what Peter said was, I don't even know who you are, but I'm listening to my wife be so animated and laughing and talking and being even more beautiful. And I have to say, I feel like you're just coming in with this flying cape. And it was just so charming. And then we talked about Kennedy, but before I go into that, I just want to say, if there is anything that makes me feel like I am doing the right thing and making the right decisions, it's bringing people like the Breggins into my life. Their recognition and appreciation has been so heartwarming to me because I feel like they are such good people. And the warmth between them and the love between them is something that I feel brings out what I would call the feminine, is the social aspect of being supportive of other people and standing up for them. And I do not believe that Peter would be at all offended by me saying that. I think that this is the aspect that we need to see more of. Without getting personal, I feel like this is in contrast to what the Malones have been involved in throughout their professional careers. What they've done is worked with big government, big pharma, all of the centralizing bodies that are looking at how do we come up with the solutions. And that's giving them credit for that, so that we can take care of everybody else. And just that impulse I see as the masculine, domineering, superiority, ego-driven, that it's the white man's burden all over again. It's saying we are the ones who have responsibility to come up with the answers for everyone else, rather than giving other people credit that they can come up with their own. On that topic, Tessa Lena recently posted, "Is your hero from the CIA?" And this is how it starts. Please do not allow the CIA to trick you into an angry mode. There is a lot going on in the MFM that perhaps some don't yet see. If your hero, whom you respect and love, is leading you into rage, if your hero is trying to make you think in terms of us and them, maybe your hero is really from the CIA. Actually, I am pretty sure that such a hero is from the CIA. Maybe it's our time to take a breath. Heroes can be misleading sometimes. Cheap satisfaction of yelling at the screen is a marketing trick. Let me repeat, cheap satisfaction of yelling at the screen is a marketing trick. It may feel good, but it's just talk. By the CIA, mind you, by the CIA. I posted in response to that it seemed ambiguous, that I didn't know exactly who and what she was talking about. And I wrote more than that, of course. And she responded very graciously. And Tessa and I believe, have a lot of respect for each other. and said that she felt that on Malone and Breggan that there were emotional things that were said by both sides, and that both sides are being controlled and neither side is right, and that we need to make sure that we calm things down and that we are not adding to that. Some of her specific comments were, "Teresa, thank you for speaking your mind, and I appreciate the mutual respect. Let me ask you then, do you remember how it all unfolded, and the low blows against Matthias and then Robert? Do you remember the very beginning of it? I remember that, and I found it deeply disturbing. There are reasonable ways to disagree with a psychological theory, although perhaps in the middle of the battle is not the best time for such things, and ways that look like someone thinks that they are chasing out the devil, while in fact, anyway, I thought it was very tragic, and it looked manipulated. I, for one, don't think that even the attack on Desmond's theory was justified, and I have expressed my opinion multiple times. It's a theory, take it or leave it. Who cares? The Breggins projected their fears on it, but it was more of a projection, in my opinion. They are good people. They made fear-based choices, and it snowballed to where we are. And of course there is nothing great about the lawsuit, nothing at all, but Robert didn't start it. And in the end, we have to think about the big picture and the usefulness of everything for the community. Let me talk about it from the perspective of the bigger picture. What is a great gift that Robert has that is very good for the world? He can use his mainstream credentials to make the people on the mainstream side listen to him. What would you do if you were the alphabets and wanted to take him out? You would want to remove his ability to build bridges, and you would want to discredit him for both sides, both in the mainstream as an anti-vaxxer and in the MFM as a not an anti-vaxxer enough. All these things are very complex, and conflicts are planted routinely. And yes, it involves personality flaws. Both the Breggins and Robert Malone acted very angrily and irrationally, and we can ask, why is that? Why is it that they suddenly started acting like somebody poisoned their soup, and as a result the vibe in the entire movement got unproductive, tormented, and angry? In other words, I don't think Malone is controlled opposition. I think he is being targeted and he is helping his enemies. I think the same is true for the Breggins, and I appreciate the good work all of them have done. What I am trying to say is that the Breggins and Robert need our help. We need to focus on prayer for clarity and healing. It doesn't matter who said what. People say stupid things when they are off balance, and especially when they are helped into acting self-destructive. It's a philosophical matter, but also a very practical matter. They need our help, and if we can focus on prayer for clarity and spiritually clear and good resolution, we will do a fantastic job all together toward the victory against the tyrants of the world. In response to that, Laura, who is an attorney and a mother of 3, wrote, "Tessa, don't be an apologist for bad behavior in the name of being an advocate of love in the world. Sometimes tough love is necessary to ensure that true love is not corrupted by those who would exploit one's desire to believe in good to the point of ignoring trouble, evil, ill intent, or malfeasance in one's midst. Should we not, on your premise of going along to get along, embrace Fauci? How is it at this point that so many have come to know of Fauci's lies? Even Malone claiming to only recently have come to see the lies. Was it not through questioning and trying to reconcile experience and facts with what we are told? In part, you are suggesting that once the freedom movement was established, we must embrace any and all that grab the label and attach it to themselves in the name of what is good and just. But isn't that exactly what the likes of Gates, Schwab, Soros, Fauci et al. Did in the name of public health? Sorry, no offense intended, but it begins to feel like you are asking us to surrender our critical thinking skills at perhaps the most critical hour in this battle, and to simply trust our fate to those who claim to be doing good for our benefit. Think of it like this. I was awake before Malone talked about the mRNA vaccines and the danger they presented. So why should I defer to him? Why should I thank him and be grateful for what he brings to the table? So far, especially compared to others in the MFM, he has brought very little of any new information to my awareness. I mean that sincerely. I have learned little from him. Second, I ask questions and stay vigilant because of my love and caution for my fellow man. Not who or a need to agitate. I am a mom. That compels me. And as I learned in the education space, the moms are operating from the purest form of love in rooting out what may harm or compromise the health and well-being of our children. And having been on the receiving end of the patriarchal and misogynistic behaviors that have allowed the world to evolve from a place of power and control, like Teresa, your seeming acceptance of the flawed personalities, is that really all that is? An insistence that it is best to go along to get along is beyond concerning, knowing what is at stake. Finally, Malone himself has exhibited repeatedly this air of, it was all just a colossal blunder of small-minded bureaucrats, and we need to love our neighbor to heal. Yeah, sorry, that was a tell for me nearly 6 months ago. Do you ever wonder if Malone will be the new head of the FDA, especially if Kennedy were to succeed? I do, and the thought of that makes me sick to my stomach. Can't even explain, but my stomach has saved my life on more than one occasion when following the experts would have virtually guaranteed my premature death. So what I hear Laura saying is that we need to be asking the question and presenting the evidence, and doing that without anger. I posted my episodes where I looked at the Breggins' initial 4 responses to Matthias Desmet, and I saw nothing of anger in that. What I saw was brilliant. It was analyzing it from a psychologist, a social psychologist point of view, and looking at the trauma that we've all been subjected to. So is that a question that we should be asking about Malone? And is that something that Tessa is saying that no, if you're actually asking that question, you're the one who might be part of the CIA? Because that was the answer that she gave later, that what she meant in her comment, in her poem, is that those who are causing division and who are stirring up that anger, those are the ones who may be agents of the CIA, very similar to what Robert Malone is talking about in 5th generation warfare, that those we better suspect are the ones who are calling him controlled opposition. To go back to Peter Breggin's answer, it was that with Kennedy's run for president, that Malone may be someone that he sees as giving him more credibility. That's a very interesting question, and one that I think Kennedy has to really be asking himself. If Malone is CIA, he would be bringing in to the presidency the same agency that killed his uncle, that killed his father, the one that his uncle said that he was going to scatter to the 4 corners of the earth so that it could never be put back together again. Those were the words that signed his death warrant. And now, if Malone is operating, and I'm not saying he is, I'm saying the question needs to be asked, and needs to be asked by Kennedy. If Malone is operating from those same forces and agencies and is looking at, instead of having the CIA be only over covert operations, instead bringing those operations, as he said they were, into health services, into the WHO, into the HHS, turning health, centralization, and domination and control into the excuse that the CIA never had to be able to have carte blanche to do whatever they want. My solution, as always, is decentralization. Rather than reforming the HHS and all of those different health agencies, Rand Paul says that he would break them into 4 or 5. I would scatter them to the 4 corners of the commonwealths so that every different community has its own health agency and we have a network, because that's the only way to take down an empire. And to follow this up, I suggest reversing the reset and also winning hearts, changing minds. Thank you for watching.